ADHD and creativity go hand in hand, and if you're anything like me, then art making is a huge part of your life. That doesn't stop us from forgetting to clean our paintbrushes or from losing patience when we're trying to wait for glue to set. Maybe that's just me. But if it does sound like you, then you're in the right place, because in this video, I'm revealing my top 5 hacks for ADHD artists. Let's get started. I don't want to waste a minute of your time, so tip number 1 is hairspray. Spraying it on pencil, charcoal, or even chalk drawings can help it from smudging. If I'm being honest, this is not recommended by professional artists. They're going to tell you to go out and buy the expensive fixatives. But I'm not that precious, so I just use hairspray. Using the professional fixatives means that I have to go all the way there to the art store, give them all of my money, and then come all the way back to the studio just to prevent smudging on my drawings. No thank you, that's far too many steps. Is it as good as professional fixative? Probably not, but it's a quarter of the price and it's far more readily available. Not bad for a hair product turned art supply. Tip number 2 is a tale as old as time. The ADHD artist makes a beautiful painting and then forgets to clean up entirely, leaving their paintbrushes full of acrylic paint, only to return the next day and discover that they are ruined. Acrylic paint is a type of plastic, so once it's dry, it's permanent. You can't remove it from your clothes, canvases, or paintbrushes, unless you use Murphy's oil soap. Before I knew this tip, I ruined so many brushes. Not anymore. I soak my ruined paintbrushes in a cup of water with about a teaspoon of the Murphy's oil soap, and then I leave it overnight. Honestly, I usually just forget about it, so I actually don't know how quickly it could work, but all I do know is that when I arrive in the morning, I can clean my brushes as usual. And just as importantly, it doesn't break down the bristles the way the acetone does. So when you're cleaning off your brushes, you're not ruining them at the same time. If you're a painter, trust me, you need this soap. This is not a sponsored video, it's just that good. Tip number 3 has saved my patience and my projects many times over. Some would even call it super. That's me. I would call it super because I'm talking about super glue. More specifically, what you can use to help set your super glue super fast. So how do I speed up the process? I use something so common you probably have it in your pantry already. If you're a baker, you most definitely do, and that's baking soda. I won't pretend that I understand the chemistry. All I know is that it works. You glue something as normal and then sprinkle a little baking soda on it and it sets it instantly. And better than that, it's actually stronger than it would be if you just used the glue and let it take its time. Before I move on to our last 2 hacks, I've got to ask, do you have any art hacks that you live by? Put them in the comments. I would love to learn them, and I'm sure so many other people would too. But now, back to the hacks. Number 4 is again about painting. Paints can get really expensive, but it doesn't have to be. You can buy your paints at the dollar store. If you're already a seasoned painter, you're probably cringing at this advice right now. And for good reason. Dollar store paints are, well, dollar store quality. They're thin and transparent, and they just lack the viscosity and richness that expensive paints have. But there is a way for you to have the best of both worlds. All you have to do is add a little magic to that dollar store paint. And by magic, I mean cornstarch. A small amount of cornstarch added to your cheap paint directly on your palette will transform those cheap paints into your own expensive luxury brand. But don't use too much because it'll end up being flaky when it dries. And remember, Always mix small amounts of paints, because unless you're using a huge brush on a huge canvas, you probably won't get to use all of it before it dries out. And that's just a waste. Now, our last hack, number 5. And boy, is it good. In fact, it's not really a hack at all. The last 4 hacks have been clever solutions for modern art problems, but this last hack has existed for centuries. I mean, Da Vinci probably didn't spend much time supergluing his fingers together, but he definitely used this technique. But before I tell you what it is, I want to tell you what it's not. It's not cheating. In fact, you can't cheat at creativity unless you're using AI, and that's a completely different video. Like I said, this technique has been used for centuries by much better artists than me or you. If you've ever been stuck wanting to transfer an image to another piece of paper or a canvas, but you can't just trace it because the paper's too thick, then this is your solution. I've always called this the reverse tracing method, but I've recently heard it being referred to as the chalk method, so both are fine. Turn your image over and cover the entire back with either pencil or chalk, hence chalk method. Once it's fully filled in, then flip it back over and put it on whatever surface you want to transfer it to. Then you're going to want to tape it down. And here is an extra tip. You want to put 2 pieces of tape on the same side of your drawing. You can tape it as many times as you want. Usually like 2 or 3 pieces is fine, but you specifically want 2 on the same side, and I'll explain that after. Now that you've got it all taped down, you just start tracing your image. The pressure from the tracing will transfer the chalk from the back of your drawing onto the new surface. You just want to make sure that you don't forget any lines. But if you do, that's where those 2 pieces of tape come in. You can very carefully lift the image off your canvas and check to see if everything looks great. If you don't move those 2 pieces of tape and you lay it back down very carefully, it should line up perfectly. If you take the page right off, there's no way that you can line it back up again to fill in any lines you may have missed. And again, it's not cheating, you're not stealing. As long as your finished artwork looks different than the inspiration image, you're fine. It's also a great way to practice your drawing skills. I hope you enjoyed these art hacks for ADHDers. I'm Kristen, and I make videos on neurodivergence and creativity every week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.